The gruesome discovery of 11 bodies took the world by storm in 1873. The cold-blooded, murderous family seemingly vanished into thin air.
It's been a cold case for 150 years.
But Miller purchased the land in 2020, hoping to unearth some answers.
We want to find out what the ground has been hiding for the last 150 years.
The Benders immigrated from Germany in 1870 to claim their 160 acres of land offered to settlers by the 1862 Homestead Act. The family of four built their 16 by 24-foot home along the Osage Mission Trail.
Well, this was like the interstate highway of the day. You didn't have roads.
The Benders utilized the back of the home as their living space and turned the front into a shop and inn for travelers of the trail. It appeared as the perfect pit stop to refuel. Travelers stopped to pick up supplies and continue on, or they could choose to stay the night and enjoy a warm meal. But unfortunately for some, that was their last meal. The events that took place inside that home would soon become local legend. Person after person was reported missing while traveling along the Osage Trail, but each case went cold. The last known traveler to fall victim to the Bender family was Dr. William York, but York wasn't like the other victims.
Most of their victims, we believe, were people that were out of the area, single people. Maybe they wouldn't be missed.
His name held much more weight.
A prominent doctor from southwest of Independence stopped by here and went missing. And his brother was a very prominent Kansas state senator.
When Dr. York didn't return home, an army of men set out to retrace his footsteps, stopping at every doorstep along the way.
The trail went cold near the Bender place, and the heat was turned up on the Benders because other people had gone missing here in this area too.
But as the town narrowed in on the Benders, the family planned their escape. Just over a week after Dr. York was reported missing, the Benders' property was found deserted. The Benders fled without leaving a trace.
Now, once the Benders fled, their house was searched by authorities and neighbors. When the authorities and other men walked into the cabin, they smelled this putrid stench, the smell of death.
Inside, they found 3 hammers, a knife, and a trap door leading from the house to a cellar. According to a report from the Kansas City Times, inside the trap door, quote, beneath in a pit 6 feet deep was a pool of blood, but no bodies. The search continued the following day with an army of men, shovels, and plows. About 100 yards from the home, buried in the apple orchard, at least 8 bodies were unearthed. Of them, Dr. York, who was identified by his own brother in nauseating conditions.
His head had been beaten in with the hammer. His throat was cut so deep it almost fell off.
Based on evidence collected at the scene, local authorities believe the Benders invited the victims to dinner and sat them with the back of their head against the cloth that separated the 2 rooms. While the victim ate what would be their last meal, one of the Benders would stand behind the cloth and strike the guest in the head with a hammer. When they fell to the ground, the Benders would then slit their throat before dropping them through the trap door into the cellar.
Then slit their throat so deep that they were almost Pez dispensers.
Since the Benders weren't around to confirm or deny the allegations, rumors spread across the nation. 150 years later, and the story isn't over.
We think there also could be other bodies out here that have been overlooked for 150 years.
After going untouched for over a century, Miller invited research students and professors from the University of Kansas to analyze the property, hoping their tools could reveal what the dirt has been hiding.
Obviously, there's nothing that's going to x-ray the ground and say, hey, there's a skeleton there. But they have stuff where they look for hot spots and ground anomalies, because when the ground is dug up and disturbed, even though you put it back, that disturbance remains forever. And they're looking for those anomalies of ground disturbances.
In July, they conducted a preliminary survey, walking the grounds, collecting surface level evidence.
We collected 679 pieces. The majority of this has been tableware, so pieces of plates, glassware, containers, and things like that. Some bone, And some clothing, we found some buttons and stuff recently.
Since 1873, the property has had multiple owners. However, according to Miller, records show the Benders were the only ones to ever build and live on the property. So there's a high chance the anomalies could trace back to the Benders.
It is difficult to separate fact from fiction, and we have an opportunity through science and through reason to try to solve the mystery of what happened to the Benders.
Mackenzie Richmond, News Channel 8.